I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and it's part 2 of the HTC One versus Samsung Galaxy Note 2 dogfight battle. They're hot Android phones. This one has a beautiful metal build quality and some incredible specs. This has an S Pen, some great specs itself, a big display, and availability on Verizon, which is kind of like the holy grail in the US smartphone space. Which one's going to win? It's a dogfight battle. It's part 2 at that, between the HTC One and the Galaxy Note 2. Let's go see which one comes out on top. Part 2 of a dogfight battle between two hot Android phones. I say that in every single dogfight battle, but this has got to be the most complicated dogfight I've ever done because it's getting harder and harder, and really what you can see here between these devices is a little bit of a rift. You got a device that's incredibly well built over here, metal, glass, just a beautiful phone all around, looks great in the hand. This thing exudes premium materials. Then over here you see the more traditional plastic, but what you get over here is some incredible software value adds. S Pen, some of the features that come with that really make this device worth considering, not to mention a nice big display that has 720p capabilities and more. It's the HTC One versus the Note 2, and we're going to dive in just a second, but first going to give some love to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like the One and the Note 2 for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working with either one of these devices when the One comes out, or if you're going in now to buy a Note 2, they'll make sure you're hooked up and ready to go, so when you walk out the door, you're set. Everything is good to go at Best Buy Mobile. You will be taken care of and you'll walk out working. So I stopped part 1 and I'm going to start part 2 talking about the software value adds of the Note 2. This thing has got a ton of software features. When you pull out this S Pen, it's really kind of like a PDA, a tablet, and a phone all in one, and I find myself using this on a regular basis. So put yourself in these shoes for a little while. First of all, if you're a business user, this is great for signing contracts. The battery life is incredible. 3,100 milliamp hours means you're going to make it through at least a day and a half or 2 days without having to worry about charging. The only time I've ever had to charge without the day ending is at CES. I had to charge around 8 or 9 o'clock p.m. because I was literally using the phone all day long and I was pushing 500 emails a day. So that is one of the reasons that I was using it constantly for pictures and for calls as well in between meetings. So incredible battery life here. This one, not so much. The battery life is not incredible on this by any means. Keep in mind though, this is an international pre-production, or this is a post-production unit, but it's an international device, not optimized for AT&T. So I'm running AT&T on here. That said, you may see a little bit of a slowdown, a little bit of a shortage of battery when the LTE versions come out. So we'll take a look at the US official versions when they come in. So take that with a grain of salt. But again, 2,300 milliamp hour battery, 4.7 inch HD display. You can kind of do the math between the two and see that the battery life may not be as amazing as you'd like it to be, particularly if you're coming from something like this over to the HTC One. What I will say, I also love the customization over on the Note 2. You can see a ton of that customization in effect right now. You can see the background of my text messaging is a picture that I've set myself. You can change that as you see fit by coming down here to settings and changing my bubble style, so I can change the way that the text messages look. I can change the background from that to regular gray background. I can go back and hit save, and then I can go back into my test thread here, which is actually just these two phones back and forth. And you can see right here, I can say, hey, now this is the Samsung keyboard. It doubles up as a swipe-like keyboard and as a Samsung, obviously a physical keyboard. And I'm not doing such a good job of typing that way, but of course, you've got the Samsung keyboard, Google Voice typing, and swipe pre-installed out of the box. There are alternatives in the in Google Play. I almost said the Android market. That is not correct. So you've got the HTC One, which you don't have that functionality, but what you do get, Google Voice typing and HTC Sense input. So these buttons are a little bit off in comparison to what you're used to, or maybe used to. You got double tap really quickly for your recent applications, which HTC has modified a little bit. Press and hold for Google Now. And of course, we'll go back into the messaging here and add the text. Now, HTC has changed the keyboard all around on this device, and it's an incredible improvement even over HTC Sense 4 Plus. You knew how much I loved 4 Plus. I talked about it on the Droid DNA and 1X videos. Really impressive keyboard here. The auto correction is very nice. It's hard to do with the S Pen in my hand, but let's say, hey there, how are you doing? Thanks. Pretty easy, pretty quick to type on, no lag whatsoever. And then of course I've got this keyboard over here combined with a 5.5 inch display, makes it pretty easy to type on all around. Love the S Pen though, love that functionality. So when I pull the pen out, you'll notice that the pen is detached. This is called a Page Buddy and recommended shortcut. So when I pull the pen out, it says, hey, you've detached it. What do you want to do? Do you want to do a quick memo? Do you want to do a quick task? For example, I can come in here and I can say, you know what, I want to message, let me think of one of my test contacts, Alexa. Text message Alexa, and let's see if this works. Jumping the message composer, And I guess I don't have Alexa Stevenson. I thought I had an Alexis or an Alexa in there, but you got that option. Then you got all your S-Memo capabilities here that you can take advantage of with the S Pen. I can write a note, all the stuff you're familiar with from Note 1, 2, but it's much improved here with the Wacom technology, or Wacom, I believe is actually how it's technically pronounced. I can record my handwriting. Another cool feature, and I'm just going back and forth. There are a ton of things here that I really can't cover. You know what? Let's say, my mom just got a Note 2 actually, so I want to say, I'm going to send her a picture of me thinking. And so I press and hold the button on the pen, and I can just see how it does that dotted line. I let go. It's going to bring up a list of applications I can jump to. So I can go to messaging, for example, and I can send it in a text message. I've got that picture right there. So if you're on a web page using the 5.5-inch display, which is another selling point of this device, big display for browsing the web. A lot of people like that for watching YouTube and the like. I'm at PhoneDog.com. I see, you know what, this article looks really awesome. HTC Zoe sample from the HTC One that I just posted. So I'm going to say, you know what, you need to watch that, Mom. And I'm going to do that. And it should, let's see, I can get it on the clipboard. And then, you know what, I'll send it to messaging. It'll bring it up in a text message, and I can send it to my mother and say, you know what, you got the Note 2, you need to watch this, though. So really cool there. Love that functionality. You can double tap to bring up a quick note. So if you're in the middle of something, hey, milk, don't forget milk. And you can save it to your S Notes folder. And then when you go in, you got all of that stuff right here in your S Notes area. So list, got my memo, I've got Aaron, which I saved earlier. I can create folders as well for personal, for work, and sign contracts. So this S Pen is a really powerful tool all around. You can also use it in the gallery. For example, iPhone Math is actually a Google Plus image, but let's say, you know what, I'm going to go up here to the camera, and I'm going to take a look at one of these images I just took. Well, I can come in here to edit, and I'm moving through this pretty quickly, so my apologies for doing it so fast, just trying to cover as much as possible in this dogfight. But I can come through here and say, you know what, I'm going to tag a buddy. I can do face tag, I can do weather tags, things like that. I can also come in here and say, face tag, of course, I can set it as my favorite. I can draw on the image and say, you know what, this is the back of the picture. So this was taken, actually this was taken 3/18, today the 18th? I think it is. At office. And you know what, I'm done. So I can put that right there. So now I know that there's a note on the back, and I can flip it, and it shows me that it's taken at the office. So I can write notes, you know, this was taken in Spain, this was taken here, whatever the case may be, and I can keep track of those notes. There's advanced edit as well, which is really nice. I can go in here to Paper Artist and change it around. Paper Artist is an included application with the Note 2, and I can play with some of the features. Sticker, for real, candy floss, munch, and I can publish this picture. I can share it on Facebook or do whatever I want to do with this picture, so I can have a lot of fun with pictures. So, you know, there's some fun elements to be had, but there's also some really good personal and good corporate uses for this as well. I can't tell you how many times I've signed contracts for my Note 2. Signed NDAs, signed embargoes, signed contracts, whatever the case may be. Very useful feature right there. So we'll talk about more of the software stuff in just a second. Over here on the HTC One, love BlinkFeed. I think it's really great for a lot of different occasions, like the fact that the clock is staying over here. And of course, you can change this around a little bit to an extent. For example, I can change my grid size. Again, they're going for simplicity. I can change the grid size around, and I can go back. I love the way this phone feels in the hand. If you watched my review yesterday, you know how much I love the way this phone feels in the hand. But I can go to settings, and I can personalize here a little bit. I've got my wallpapers, I've got my lock screen style, I've got my home screens that I can customize. I have it set to productivity, but I can change it to photo album. Just see how fast this device is. It moves through everything so incredibly fast. I can do no lock screen if I want to, wallpaper lock screen. I have it set to productivity right now, ringtones and more. So you do get some reasonable customization over on the HTC One. Another thing I really enjoy about this device is something called HTC Zoe, and it's something you don't even have to worry about doing on your own. The phone does it itself. So I'll come in here, for example, to my photos. I'm going to come here to Dallas, Texas from the 18th. It automatically geolocates where you are, and it'll do this cool little feature. So I take a combination of pictures, I take a combination of what's called Zoe shots, which are 3-second videos, which double up as still images as well. So I'll show you what a Zoe is. We'll actually go into the camera and take a look. So I've got Zoe turned on, and all I have to do, and you're going to see a little red icon there in the camera, clicking right now, just moving it around, and this becomes a Zoe shot. So it's a combination of, obviously, in the camera, clicking right now, just moving it around, a combination of still images and video. So I can go in here if I want to, for example, and say, you know what, this is the video. Let's say I want to, I can edit the video if I want to. I can go through and see the frames. I can go right back out of this. and I can say from there, you know what, I want that frame to be saved in my images. And actually this will go into a folder titled the 19th, because I guess today is actually the 19th, but as you can see right there. So 18th was here. Got a bunch of images right here that I took all day yesterday. What composes this into something called an HTC Zoe, and you're going to see it right here. A very cool feature all around, and from there you can go through here and say, you know what, you can save it, you can share it. I can select the content that I want or don't want in the Zoe. So let's say, you know what, I want to focus on these images, and that's about it. I don't want to focus on anything else. Well, you hit save. And you can see it focuses on those images. I can also change around some of the settings. This is all stuff done on the device side. You have to have no video editing skills for this. So Vega, for example, and you'll see it'll change from Islandia to Vega. Very quick, very easy. The camera is fantastic on this device. The ultra pixels work incredibly well. Been so pleased with the overall image quality on this unit. Very, very impressed. The Zoes are cool. The low light performance is fantastic. And then, of course, going back into the camera, got a couple of different options. I'll turn Zoe off. And you've got some options here with doing black and white, sepia, and a couple of different little photo things you can play around with. Also, you can change the scene to HDR, to night, change the self-timer, the cropping, the video quality, and more, all that stuff that you would have in a typical camera. The camera award goes to the HTC One. The overall camera software award, though, goes to the Note 2, and I'll tell you why. I carry the Note 2 on a regular basis and I'm not working on a 30-day challenge, and quite a few of my family, my friends have Samsung, either Galaxy Note 2s or Galaxy S3s. S-Beam is the best thing since sliced bread, and it seems like a gimmick. In the advertisements, it seems like a gimmick, but you got to keep in mind these are intended for the mainstream consumers. Absolutely fantastic all around. Love the fact that, for example, I can come back from a trip or a wedding or something, and anybody that I know that has an S3 or a Note 2, we just put phones back to back and we can transfer 200 pictures. It is the easiest, most awesome thing in the world. I've watched pictures, 100 pictures go from this one to another Galaxy Note 2, another Galaxy S3. It is incredibly easy, and it's one of those things, yes, NFC can do that. Yes, NFC's done that forever, but the actual marketing behind S-Beam and the fact of how easy it is makes it an incredible option for consumers. So Samsung has done a great job. They've got the puzzle pieces all together when it comes to marketing, when it comes to consumer features that consumers want, and availability across multiple carriers. So realistically, when you look at these, there's probably going to be a higher percentage that somebody has a Samsung Galaxy Note 2 or a Samsung Galaxy S3 just because of the availability on multiple carriers. It's so easy to, boom, do pictures with S-Beam and swap them right back. You can also do a really cool feature, and I'll show it to you in camera. We'll go down through here and take a look right here. Buddy Photo Share, which is another one I like a lot. ShareShot and Buddy Photo Share are fantastic. So if you set it up beforehand, you can walk in, let's say four people with Galaxy S3s can walk into a wedding and they'll all walk out with the same amount of pictures because it creates kind of a personal Wi-Fi network where all those pictures are shared. So if you're like me, you forget to take pictures, then you've got people in your life that always remember to take pictures. You'll walk out with the same amount of pictures they all have thanks to that feature. Really enjoy that all around. So we're going to sign out doing quadrant standard. I'm not going to worry about a speed test because honestly this is an international build. We will do quadrant standard just to show you how fast both of these devices are. We'll run the full benchmark here. Run the full benchmark and we'll talk a little bit more about battery life. So battery life, the department, I mean, Note 2's got it locked up in the battery life department. It is fantastic. It is by far the best device I've ever worked with from a battery life standpoint. That is one of the reasons why I actually carry the device on a pretty regular basis is because of the battery life. I mean, I'm constantly traveling. I flew 107,000 miles last year. I live out of hotels. I live out of airplanes. And so for me, battery life is important and not having to worry about charging my phone, every 3 times a day or charging it twice a day. To that end, the Galaxy Note 2 is fantastic. I'm excited about the HTC One. Much like HTC devices of the past, it does really well with battery, especially with standby time. It does really well with standby time, no problems there, but I do find that, especially when you're doing intensive stuff like HTC Zoes, and obviously that stuff's going to suck a little bit more battery, but I find that it doesn't make it through the day. I haven't had one time yet where I haven't had to charge this between like 7 and 9 p.m. just to get that added juice to make it through the day. So I think to myself, okay, that's a normal day when I go to a trade show, when I go to a series of meetings, when I'm out of the office for the day in meetings. that's going to really come into handy. And whereas this one would make it through the day, this one is not going to. So keep that in mind. So you've got right here 6,141, an amazing 12,547. So you've got a beautiful score over here, still a great score over here as well, but just blowing it away, almost double what the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 has. Still keep it with you, or take it in mind with a grain of salt, because honestly both of these are exceptionally fast in day-to-day performance. Little to no lag whatsoever. And I'll say last but not least, both of these have a nice amount of widgets as well. I'll go to the home screen here so you can see, and we'll go to apps and widgets, which I guess I could have just gone into the menu and done that, but you can see, and much like the apps as well, you can scroll through your widgets this way on the Note 2. Then I've got all my widgets here, which HTC's pared back a little bit of the widgets, and the overall menu interface looks different, but you've got widgets, apps, and shortcuts over here, and of course a lot of the HTC ones you remember and you know or love or hate, depending on your preference of HTC versus other manufacturers. But you got your clock stuff over here. Let me find the clock widgets, because they are a little bit different over on this device. Let's see. Where did they go? Clock widgets, oh, there we go. Weather, got the weather clock over here, the traditional weather clock, if you want to stick with that one. You know this one from HTC devices of the past. Let's see if we can get it over here. I know why it's not doing it, because that stupid Chrome logo is right, or that stupid Chrome thing is right there. There we go, perfect. And get rid of this, and then bring right back up that typical HTC clock that I know and either love or hate. So still some HTC widgets here, lots of different Samsung options here as well. Really digging the overall look and feel of both of these devices. So it's an incredibly tough battle. I mean, just incredibly tough between these two. And like I said at the beginning of the dogfight battle, it's going to depend on what you use your device for. If you want a device, you know, it is all about metal. You could care less about battery life. You could care less about... This thing is an incredible performer. I mean, you can't underestimate this thing. I'm so excited about this phone. Love carrying it for 30 days. Really impressed with the build quality. This is one of those phones you put it down on the table and people say, what is that? Gorgeous device, great internal storage, 32 gigabytes on this particular version. It goes up to 64. Love this device all around. It does have some shortcomings. The battery life's a little bit short, and I still think HTC is catching up in the software department. They still have a little bit of work to do to get those software value adds. Some call those gimmicks, but what I will tell you, the mainstream consumer, anyone I've talked to on the retail space, they don't find those gimmicks. They find those particularly useful. So keep in mind, we are in the minority as tech people. They're very useful features all around. Heck, I use those features on a regular basis. I absolutely love the shortcuts. So you've got an incredible software value add over here, but it's a little bit more of a plasticky device. Obviously, the screen is not 1080p. It's 720. So it's really going to depend on what you want. The dogfight winner, though, I mean, we're talking like narrow margin. I almost declared this a tie. That's how close it is. And that will be the first dogfight in 4 years that I could declare as a tie. It is narrowly, and we're talking narrowly, going to the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. This is the winner of the dogfight for a couple of reasons. One, still an incredible contender, great specs all around, big display, but then really where it makes it up is just in a couple places. The S Pen, big beautiful display, and really availability across multiple carriers. So from a US perspective, you have more availability on this device with it coming to Verizon right now, or available right now, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile. This may come to Verizon at some point in the future, but right now it's just coming to AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile, so keep that in mind. This is an incredible device. You're going to be so happy with both of these devices. It is so close, I almost declared it a tie, but a slight win, a slight nod goes to the Note 2. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage. Sorry for the length of this dogfight. There's just so much to cover because these are literally two of the hottest Android phones in history. Let me know what you think on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron, Facebook, Facebook.com/HiAaronBaker, Google+, G+.to/AaronCBaker. Let me know what you think between these two devices. If you love the one, you love the Note 2, you have a preference, you think one stinks, let me know at any of those places that I just said. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for more on both of these hot phones on PhoneDog.com. We'll see you next time.